Approximately 1.7 million people in the Pacific are living with some form of disability. The Pacific Disability Forum has documented that people with disabilities in the Pacific experience many cultural and physical barriers to full participation, as well as lack of access to communities, education, and the workplace. In Samoa, nearly 1,000 people cannot hear at all or have a lot of difficulty. The majority of deaf and hard of hearing communities are located in rural areas of Upolu and Savaii Islands. Of the population with disabilities in Samoa, 9.6 have never been to school, compared to 1.7 of those without disabilities. Only 4% of the population with disabilities are formally employed. These statistics highlight the exclusion rates of persons with disabilities in Samoa and the need of human rights education. My name is Maselina Iuta. I am 24 years old and I am proud to be a human rights educator because I am part of a movement that ensures people with disabilities have equal access to their human rights. My work is very important to me because as a deaf child living in rural Savaii, I didn't have a lot of access to important things. When I was 4 years old, I started attending school, but I had never learned sign language. I had never seen someone use sign language. Growing up with no access to sign language meant that I was unable to communicate effectively with my teachers, explain to a doctor when I felt sick, or understand what the pastor was saying in church every Sunday. I felt very isolated and like I couldn't keep up with the other kids my age. I didn't know what was happening in my community, and I always got bad grades in school because I never understood what the teacher was trying to teach us. It wasn't until I was much older that I realized I had the same rights as people without disabilities. And when I was supported with a sign language interpreter, I could do the same things as everyone else. There are many interventions needed to ensure that people with disabilities have equal, meaningful access in all of society. One aspect is human rights education, not only for people with disabilities to understand their own human rights, but also for people without disabilities so they can understand that everyone has the same rights and they too can support the promotion of accessible and inclusive opportunities. The Deaf Association of Samoa was established in 2017 by myself along with approximately 20 other people who are deaf. We wanted to have an organization that was governed and led by persons who are deaf and hard of hearing. I took on a much larger role as an educator and teacher when I joined the association as a staff member in 2020. Now, a large part of my job is working with the deaf community to understand their human rights in the context of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which was ratified by the government of Samoa in 2016. My role involves me working closely with the members of the deaf community to learn about their own human rights and support them to advocate for their rights to access education, employment, and health services, to name a few. I specifically work with young people with disabilities. I have found that youth with disabilities always want to engage in human rights education. We keep our programs activity-based and engaging, and we are always asked to come back and run more programs. Talofa lava. My name is Melissa. My sign name, Melissa. Maselina has an important role in pushing programs for persons with disabilities, deaf in particular. We also work together to make sure that the deaf community receives the right information and that they understand their rights and how they are protected by these rights just like other people. She is a young Samoan woman who has earned international recognition, like with the Commonwealth Award. We hope that other young women who are deaf will rise up and take on the challenge together, like Maselina has, for the benefit of the deaf community, so that we can continue to fight and support the rights of those who are deaf in Samoa. I'm really proud of the fact that through my work, I am able to ensure deaf-led advocacy for the deaf community. Being a young deaf woman from Savaii, Samoa, I get to speak throughout the country to members of the deaf community, and I can see the impact it has. You can't be what you can't see. And I hope that seeing me in this space inspires the next generation of the deaf community to understand their rights and see that they can be anything they want to be. The big changes I've seen have been at the individual and family level. Working with families of young deaf children in Savaii, I see them realize that their child could grow up to take on leadership roles and work to support their family, just like me. Another exciting change has been seeing the increased confidence of deaf women and men my own age who are realizing that access to inclusive education and employment opportunities is possible. And that with knowledge of their human rights, they can advocate for opportunities in their own lives. The world needs human rights education because we are not all born with equal access. And it can be difficult to advocate for ourselves if we don't know what our rights are.